A black woman stands in a police station parking lot. A white deputy decides she doesn't belong there. He's about to learn how wrong he is. Tuesday, Millbrook, Georgia. The visitor lot is clearly marked. She parks legally, walks legally, hospital badge around her neck, 18 years as a nurse. She's carrying her husband's lunch. None of that matters to Deputy Kyle Brennan. He blocks her path, hand on his belt. "Ma'am, what's your business here?" She's black. She's standing still. Apparently that's crime enough. What Brennan doesn't know, that lunch belongs to the man inside, the man who runs this department. Her husband is the police chief. In 4 minutes, this deputy's career begins to end. If you've ever been questioned where you belonged, stay with this one. Brenda Owens is 42 years old. She works as a pediatric nurse practitioner at Millbrook Regional Medical Center, a sprawling complex on the east side of town that serves 3 counties. 18 years on the job. Her patients request her by name. Their parents send thank you cards that she keeps in a drawer at her desk. Not for pride, but for the hard days when she needs reminding why she does this work. She grew up in Macon, the daughter of a postal worker and a school secretary. She put herself through nursing school with scholarships and night shifts at a grocery store. She moved to Millbrook 15 years ago for a job that promised stability and a community that felt like home. She found both. She married Derek Owens 20 years ago. They met at a church fundraiser in Atlanta. He was a patrol officer then, ambitious but quiet, the kind of man who listened more than he spoke. She liked that about him. Still does. He proposed after 18 months. She said yes before he finished the question. 14 months ago, Derek was appointed police chief of Millbrook. First black chief in the department's history. The vote was contentious. Some celebrated with champagne and speeches. Others didn't hide their displeasure. Anonymous letters, cold shoulders in the hallways, the particular silence that settles when certain people enter a room. At the swearing-in ceremony, Brenda watched her husband place his hand on his grandmother's Bible and promise to serve with integrity. She believed him. She still does. They have 2 children. A daughter, 16, who wants to be a civil rights attorney and argues her case at the dinner table with footnotes. A son, 12, who wants to be a veterinarian or possibly a YouTuber. He hasn't decided and changes his mind weekly. They live in a brick ranch house on Maple Street, 3 miles from the station. They attend First Baptist Church on Sundays. They pay their taxes. They vote in every election, including the local ones nobody else remembers. This Tuesday morning starts like any other. Brenda leaves for work at 6:30, coffee in a travel mug, bag packed the night before. Derek leaves at 7, already answering emails on his phone. Somewhere between the coffee pot and the front door, he forgets his lunch on the kitchen counter. Turkey sandwich. Apple. A note from their daughter that reads, "Dad, don't arrest anyone annoying today." Brenda finds it at 9:15, between patient appointments. She texts Derek, "You forgot your lunch again." He replies, "Long morning. Can you drop it off? Meeting ran over. Starving." She has a gap between appointments. 15 minutes. Enough time to drive to the station, hand off the bag, and get back. She's done this a dozen times before. It's nothing. It's routine. It's the most ordinary errand in the world. The station sits on Commerce Street, a 2-story brick building with an American flag out front and glass doors that need cleaning. The visitors' parking section is clearly marked. White lines, blue sign, impossible to miss. She pulls into a spot near the entrance. She grabs the lunch bag. She checks her phone. A patient's mother has texted about a prescription refill. Brenda makes a mental note to call back after. She steps out of the car. The October air is cool but not cold. She can smell coffee from the station's open lobby door, mixed with the exhaust from Commerce Street traffic. The lot is quiet. A few cruisers parked in the official section. No one around. She walks toward the entrance. Her heels click against the asphalt in a steady rhythm. She's 30 feet from the door. That's when she hears it. An engine. Close. Getting closer. A cruiser pulls across her path and stops. The driver's side door swings open. A deputy steps out, young, maybe late 20s, hand already resting on his duty belt. His posture says one thing: confrontation. His voice confirms it. "Ma'am, I need to see some ID. What's your business here?" Brenda Owens has been a nurse for 18 years. She's seen emergencies. She's stayed calm when children were coding, when parents were screaming, when everything around her was chaos. Calm is a skill. She's mastered it. She looks at the deputy. She notes his badge number without breaking eye contact, and she thinks, here we go. She's 30 feet from the door when the cruiser blocks her path. The deputy's name is Kyle Brennan. 29 years old, 3 years on the force. His personnel file contains 8 complaints, all marked unfounded or insufficient evidence. But Brenda doesn't know that yet. Right now, she only knows what she sees. A young officer with an aggressive stance, blocking her path in front of the building where her husband works. "I'm visiting someone inside," she says. Her voice is level, measured. "I parked in the visitor lot." Brennan doesn't move. His hand remains on his belt. "That doesn't answer my question." "Which question would you like me to answer?" His jaw tightens. Something shifts behind his eyes. Frustration, maybe, or the realization that this isn't going the way he expected. "Put the bag down. Hands where I can see them." Brenda looks at the lunch bag in her hand. Turkey sandwich, apple, a note from a 16-year-old who dreams of arguing cases before the Supreme Court. She sets it down slowly, narrating her actions aloud, a habit from years of medical work. "I'm placing the bag on the ground. Step back." She steps back. "Don't move." She stops. "I said step back." "Deputy, which would you like me to do?" A bystander arrives at that moment. Terrence Davis, 34, an electrician from the east side of town who's been in business for himself for 6 years. He's here to file a report about a stolen generator. $3,000 of equipment vanished from a job site overnight. He parks 2 spots away, steps out of his truck, and immediately sees what's happening. A woman with a hospital badge. A deputy with his hand near his weapon. The parking lot of a police station at 11:40 in the morning. Terrence reaches for his phone. He's recorded police encounters before. His cousin was pulled over last year for a broken taillight that wasn't broken. He presses record. He doesn't say anything. He just watches. Brennan doesn't notice the phone. His attention is fixed on Brenda. "Am I being detained?" she asks. The question is calm, almost clinical. "I'm conducting an investigation." "Into what, specifically?" Silence. His radio crackles, dispatch calling for another unit somewhere across town. He ignores it. The question hangs in the air like something unfinished, demanding an answer he doesn't have. "I'm going to need your ID," he says finally. "On what grounds?" "You're in a restricted area." Brenda glances at the blue sign beside her car. Visitor parking. She looks back at Brennan. "This is the visitor lot. The sign is right there. I determine what's restricted." The conversation has lasted less than 2 minutes. In that time, Brennan has issued contradictory commands, failed to articulate probable cause, and escalated a routine encounter into something that feels, to Brenda, like a test. A test she's seen other people fail, on the news, in viral videos, in stories told at church and family gatherings. A test she refuses to fail. "Deputy," she says, "I'm a nurse practitioner at Millbrook Regional. I'm here to drop off my husband's lunch. My car is parked in a visitor spot. My hospital badge is visible around my neck. I've answered your questions. I've complied with your instructions. Now I'm asking you again. Am I being detained?" Brennan's face shifts. Something flickers there. Uncertainty? Or maybe frustration at a situation that isn't following the script in his head. He hasn't found a violation. He hasn't found anything. And the woman in front of him isn't panicking, isn't arguing, isn't giving him the reaction he seems to expect. "Wait here," he says. He turns toward his cruiser. As he does, the station's front door opens. A senior officer steps out. A sergeant, gray-haired, coffee in hand. He sees Brenda. He sees Brennan. His expression changes immediately. "Deputy, stand down." Brennan freezes mid-step. The sergeant walks over, his footsteps quick and deliberate. His voice is sharp, cutting through the parking lot silence like a blade. "Mrs. Owens, is everything all right?" "It will be," she says. Brennan's face goes pale. His hand drops from his belt. He says nothing. No apology, no explanation, no acknowledgement that anything has happened at all. He simply walks back to his cruiser, climbs in, and drives to the far end of the lot. Terrence Davis lowers his phone. 68 seconds of footage. Time stamped 11:43:22 a.m. Within the hour, he'll post it to a community Facebook group with the caption, "This is how they treat us at our police station." Within 48 hours, it will have 200,000 views. And Millbrook is about to learn exactly who Brenda Owens is. The video is already uploading, and the department isn't ready for what comes next. The video spreads the way these things do now, fast, uncontainable, carried by algorithms and outrage, and the particular velocity of something that feels true. By Tuesday evening, Terrence Davis's post has 3,000 shares. His phone won't stop buzzing. Friend requests, comments, messages from people he's never met asking permission to repost. By Wednesday morning, regional news stations are calling. By Thursday, the view count has passed 200,000 and shows no sign of slowing. The comment section becomes a confessional. People describe their own encounters, their own stops, their own questions that went unanswered. "This happened to me last year, same parking lot. I was visiting my son at the station. They asked me 3 times why I was there. They don't do this to everyone. We all know who they do it to." The Millbrook Police Department releases a statement at 2 p.m. Thursday. "We are aware of the video circulating on social media and are reviewing the matter. The Millbrook Police Department takes all concerns seriously and is committed to professional conduct. No suspension, no action, no names." The statement does nothing to slow the momentum. If anything, it accelerates it. The bureaucratic language, the passive voice, the careful non-commitment that reads like a template pulled from a drawer. 3 people come forward within the first week, their stories surfacing in comment sections and church parking lots, and eventually in Denise Crawford's notebook at the Millbrook Tribune. Lorraine Tucker is 58, a retired teacher who spent 32 years at Millbrook Elementary before her pension kicked in. 8 months ago, she was stopped by a deputy while walking her dog near the station, a morning constitutional she'd taken every day for a decade. He asked where she was going. She said, "Home." He asked for ID. She didn't have it. She was walking her dog at 7 in the morning, 3 blocks from her house. He detained her for 20 minutes, checking her name through dispatch while her arthritic golden retriever sat panting on the sidewalk. She filed a complaint. It was marked, "Unfounded." Deshaun Mills is 24, a college student at the community campus across town, studying business administration and working part-time at his uncle's auto shop. 14 months ago, he was stopped in his car 3 blocks from the station. The deputy said he matched a description. Deshaun asked what description. The deputy didn't answer. He was detained for 40 minutes, his car searched without consent, while he sat on a curb wondering if this was the day something went wrong. No charges filed, no explanation given. He filed a complaint. Insufficient evidence. Patricia Sims is 67, a deacon at First Baptist Church who has lived in Millbrook since before the interstate came through. 2 years ago, she was questioned while sitting in her own car in the station's lot, reading a book while waiting for her grandson to finish an errand inside. A deputy knocked on her window and asked why she was there. She explained. He asked for ID. She provided it. He ran her plates. She waited 15 minutes before he returned and told her she could go. No apology, no explanation, just a wave of his hand like she was being dismissed. She didn't file a complaint. She didn't think anyone would believe her. All three encounters have something in common. The deputy's name, Kyle Brennan. A community meeting is called for Friday evening at First Baptist Church. 300 people show up, more than anyone expected. The sanctuary fills, then the overflow room, then the parking lot. People stand in the October chill, listening through open windows, their breath visible in the evening air. The stories come one after another. Different faces, different days, same patterns. The same phrases echo from the pulpit. Conducting an investigation. Restricted area. I determine. The same complaints filed. The same outcomes. Unfounded, insufficient, closed. The phrase repeats like a drumbeat, like a verdict that was decided before the evidence was heard. Unfounded complaint. Brenda Owens attends the meeting. She sits in the back row next to Derek, who came in civilian clothes to avoid making it about him. She doesn't speak. She listens. She takes notes. When people share their experiences, she writes down names, dates, badge numbers. The nurse's habit of documentation has never left her. Medical charts, incident reports, now this. The local NAACP chapter sends a letter to the department requesting a meeting with leadership to discuss complaint procedures. The department declines. Personnel matters are confidential and cannot be discussed in public forums. City Council member Raymond Webb goes on local radio Friday afternoon. He calls the situation overblown and suggests the video lacks context. He warns against rushing to judgment and reminds listeners that officers have difficult jobs. He does not mention that his largest campaign donor is the police union PAC. He does not mention the law enforcement equipment suppliers who funded his last re-election. He does not mention anything that might explain why he's defending a deputy he's never met. But someone else is listening, someone who deals in context. Denise Crawford is 38 years old. She's worked at the Millbrook Tribune for 12 years, starting as a copy editor and working her way to investigative reporter through sheer persistence and an instinct for patterns. Her specialty is public records, FOIA requests, database analysis, the slow work of connecting dots that powerful people prefer unconnected. She's been tracking complaint dismissal rates at the department for months. The numbers are stark. The national average for sustained internal affairs complaints is around 30%. Millbrook's rate is just over 4%. She's been looking for a face to attach to those numbers, a story that makes statistics human. Now she has one. Actually, she has several. Denise attends the church meeting. She sits near the front, recorder in hand, notebook open. She writes down every name, every date, every badge number mentioned from the pulpit. And when the meeting ends, she drives back to the Tribune office, makes a pot of coffee, and starts drafting FOIA requests. Her first request goes out Monday morning. She's asking for all complaints filed against Deputy Kyle Brennan with full documentation. The department has 14 days to respond. On Thursday, Denise Crawford files her first FOIA request. She's asking for something the department doesn't want to give. Thursday morning, Regional News runs a feature on the viral video. The segment is 4 minutes long, an eternity in local television. The reporter interviews Terrence Davis, who describes what he saw in the parking lot. She interviews Lorraine Tucker, who describes what she experienced 8 months ago. She interviews a civil rights attorney from Atlanta who explains, in careful legal terms, what reasonable suspicion means and doesn't mean. And then she delivers the detail that transforms this from a local story into something else entirely. The woman in the video has been identified as Brenda Owens, the reporter says, a nurse practitioner at Millbrook Regional Medical Center, where she has worked for 18 years. She pauses. The pause is deliberate. She is also the wife of Millbrook Police Chief Derek Owens. The silence that follows lasts 2 seconds. On television, that's an eternity. Deputy Kyle Brennan is watching the broadcast in the station's break room when the words land. His coffee cup stops halfway to his mouth. The room goes quiet. 3 other officers present, all of them suddenly very interested in their phones, the floor, anything but Brennan's face. Somewhere down the hall, a radio crackles to life. A summons to the captain's office. The shift is immediate. By Thursday afternoon, the narrative has changed completely. This is no longer a story about a random woman stopped in a parking lot. This is a story about a deputy who profiled the police chief's wife in the station's own lot, while her husband worked inside, 30 feet away. The department's communications office scrambles. A new statement is drafted, reviewed, revised, deleted, rewritten, and released by 5 p.m. Deputy Kyle Brennan has been placed on administrative leave pending a full internal review. The department takes this matter seriously. Chief Derek Owens recuses himself from any involvement in the investigation. It's the right protocol. Everyone knows it. But the optics are devastating regardless. His own officer stopped his own wife, on his own property, under his own command. In the break room, deputies whisper. In the parking lot, reporters gather. In living rooms across Millbrook, people watch the news and nod with something between satisfaction and vindication. See, they say. This is how it works. Because here's the detail that surfaces next, buried in personnel records that someone leaks to a local blogger. Kyle Brennan's uncle by marriage is Sergeant Wade Hollister. Hollister runs the department's complaint review unit, the same unit that marked Brennan's 8 previous complaints unfounded. The same unit that determines which accusations merit investigation and which get filed away in drawers that never open. The community's reaction isn't surprise. It's confirmation of what they always suspected. Brenda Owens gives her first public statement on Friday morning. She records it on her phone in her living room and posts it to social media. No publicist. No prepared remarks. Just her, speaking directly to the camera. I'm not speaking because of who my husband is. I'm speaking because I am the 6th person we know of who this happened to. I was simply the first one recorded. She pauses. Her voice doesn't waver. My husband has spent his career trying to make this department better. I believe in that work. I also believe that no one should have to prove they belong in a public space. No one should have to answer for standing still. She looks directly at the camera, directly at everyone who's watching. I was dropping off lunch, that's all, and I'm not going to apologize for expecting to be treated like a human being. The video gets 200,000 views in its first 12 hours. Shares climb, comments multiply. The story goes national. If Brennan thinks administrative leave is the worst he'll face, he hasn't met Denise Crawford. The FOIA response arrives on a Tuesday, 14 days after Denise Crawford submitted her request. The envelope is thick, 43 pages, marked responsive documents in bureaucratic type. Half of them are black with redactions. She spreads the documents across her desk at the Tribune and starts reading. The coffee in her mug goes cold. The newsroom empties as colleagues leave for the day. She doesn't notice any of it. The redactions are heavy, but they're not complete. Names are blacked out. Complainants' names, witness names, even some officer names in certain contexts. But dates aren't redacted. Dispositions aren't redacted. Case numbers and reviewing officer badge numbers aren't redacted. And in the structure of what remains, a story begins to emerge. 8 complaints against Deputy Kyle Brennan in 3 years, all closed, all marked either unfounded or insufficient evidence. The reviewing officer's badge number appears on each closure form. It's the same number every time, 2291. Denise cross-references the badge number with department records obtained through an earlier FOIA request. Badge 2291 belongs to Sergeant Wade Hollister. She makes a note in her notebook, underlining it twice. Brennan's uncle by marriage reviewed all 8 complaints, all dismissed. Her second FOIA response arrives 3 days later, after the Tribune's lawyer sends a notice demanding compliance and citing relevant Georgia open records statutes. This one contains body camera activation logs for Brennan's patrol vehicle over the past 18 months. The logs are supposed to be straightforward. Camera activates automatically when the vehicle is in drive or when the officer activates it manually. Camera records all interactions. Footage stored for 90 days minimum, longer for any incident involving a complaint. But the logs show something else. 31 entries marked footage unavailable or technical malfunction. 31 gaps in 18 months. Denise pulls the dates of those gaps and compares them to the dates of the complaints filed against Brennan. The correlation is almost perfect. 7 of the 8 complaints correspond to dates when body camera footage was unavailable. The 8th complaint was filed outside the 90-day storage window, footage already deleted per policy by the time the complaint was submitted. Technical malfunction, Denise says aloud to the empty newsroom. 31 times. Same camera, same deputy. She starts making calls. Former officers who've moved on to other departments. Current officers who will only speak on background, who ask that she call them on personal phones after their shifts end. A retired sergeant who moved to Florida 3 years ago and has nothing left to lose. No pension threatened, no family still on the force. Everyone knew, one of them tells her. The voice is tired, resigned. You don't file against Hollister's people. Complaints go in a drawer. They don't come out. And if you push, you find yourself on night shift in the worst district, wondering why your transfer requests never get approved. Another source, still employed, speaking anonymously, voice distorted through fear and frustration, provides something more concrete. An email chain, printed out and passed to Denise in the parking lot of a grocery store on the edge of town. The source's hands shake slightly as they hand over the envelope. The email is dated 8 months before Brenda Owens was stopped. The subject line reads, Tucker Matter. The sender is Wade Hollister. The recipient is a subordinate in the complaint review unit. The message is 3 sentences. Handle the Tucker matter. Keep it clean. We don't need another problem. The Tucker matter. Lorraine Tucker, the retired teacher who filed a complaint about Brennan 8 months ago after being stopped while walking her dog. The complaint that was marked unfounded. Denise stares at the printout in her car, streetlights flickering on around her. Keep it clean. 3 words that say everything. She spends the next week building a database. Every complaint filed against officers in Hollister's sphere. Family members, friends, poker buddies, golf partners, people who showed up at his daughter's wedding. She tracks who reviewed the complaints. She tracks the outcomes. She tracks the patterns. The numbers are damning. Hollister personally reviewed 89% of complaints against officers connected to him. The national average for IA sustained rates is around 30%, meaning roughly 30% of complaints result in some finding against the officer. Hollister's unit sustains 4.2%. 4.2%. That's not oversight. That's not investigation. That's protection. Denise writes her first story. Pattern of Protection. How Millbrook PD handles its own. It runs on the Tribune's front page, above the fold, on a Sunday morning, maximum readership. The online version publishes at midnight Saturday. By noon Sunday, it's been picked up by 3 national outlets. By Monday morning, it's everywhere. The story lays out the numbers with clinical precision. The 31 body camera gaps, the 8 complaints against Brennan, all dismissed by his uncle. The email directing a subordinate to keep it clean. The statistical anomaly of a complaint review unit that sustains almost nothing while the rest of the country sustains almost a third. Right now, you're watching the receipts stack, but the department is about to push back, and the cost will be personal. The department's response is swift, but not substantive. We are reviewing the allegations raised by the Tribune. We remain committed to transparency and accountability. The words sound hollow even as they're spoken. Brennan stays on paid leave, $62 per hour, same rate he'd make on duty. Hollister continues working. No additional actions announced. But behind the scenes, something else is happening. Denise's story mentions Brennan's overtime records in passing, a detail she included because the numbers seemed high, though she didn't have time to fully investigate. The reference is brief. Records show Brennan logged substantial overtime hours for proactive patrol assignments in certain zones over the past 18 months. Oh, that sentence catches the attention of an investigator at the State Attorney General's office. He reads it twice, makes a note in the margin, and starts pulling records. The community pressure intensifies. A protest forms outside City Hall. 200 people on a Wednesday afternoon, taking time off work, pulling kids out of school, standing in the Georgia sun with handmade signs. The messages are simple. Accountability now. Release the footage. We see the pattern. Chief Derek Owens watches from his office window, 4 blocks away. He can't intervene in the investigation. He can't comment publicly. He can't do anything that might appear to influence the process. All he can do is watch and wait and trust that the truth will come out. His wife is at home organizing her notes. She's not a lawyer. She's not an investigator. But she is a nurse, and nurses document everything: vital signs, medications, patient responses, every detail that might matter later. She has dates, names, badge numbers, a timeline that starts with her own encounter and stretches back years, built from conversations at church, from comment sections, from the community meeting at First Baptist. She doesn't know yet how it will end, but she knows this: the receipts are stacking, and sooner or later, the weight becomes undeniable. On her desk is a copy of the Tribune, Denise Crawford's story. The headline above the fold, Pattern of Protection. Brenda reads it again. Then she picks up her phone and sends a text to Lorraine Tucker. Have you seen this? Lorraine's response comes immediately. I've been waiting 2 years for someone to believe me. Brenda types back, they're going to believe you now. Within 72 hours of Denise's story, someone leaks Brenda's personnel file to a local blog. The counterattack has begun. The blog post appears on a Thursday morning. Anonymous source, anonymous author, maximum damage intended. The headline: Questions about Chief's wife's professional conduct. The content: a scanned copy of Brenda Owens's HR file from Millbrook Regional Medical Center. Documents that should never have left the hospital's secure systems. Buried in the pages is a 2019 incident report. A patient's family member filed a complaint alleging that Brenda was dismissive during a difficult conversation about prognosis. The child had a rare condition. The parents were frightened. Emotions ran high. The complaint was investigated. Brenda provided her account. A review board examined the interaction. The family later withdrew the complaint and sent a letter apologizing for the misunderstanding, acknowledging that they had been overwhelmed and misdirected their fear. The matter was closed, resolved, documented as no finding. None of that context appears in the blog post. What appears is the complaint itself, stripped of resolution, stripped of the retraction, stripped of anything that might complicate the narrative. Designed to imply something ugly about a woman who has given 18 years to her profession. The message is clear. If you push, we push back. Brenda sees the post at 7 a.m. She's getting ready for work, running through her mental checklist of patient appointments. Her coffee goes cold on the counter. She reads the words 3 times, feeling something cold settle in her chest. They went after my career, she says. The words come out quiet, controlled. Derek stands beside her, reading over her shoulder. His face is stone. This came from somewhere. HR files don't leak by accident. Someone accessed that system, downloaded those documents, and sent them to that blog. HIPAA, Brenda says. This is a federal violation. We'll report it, but that takes time, months, maybe years, and they know it. The hospital issues a statement by noon. Ms. Owens is a valued member of our staff with an exemplary record. The 2019 matter referenced in recent reports was thoroughly investigated, resolved satisfactorily, and resulted in no disciplinary action. We are investigating how confidential personnel records were improperly disclosed and will pursue all available legal remedies. It's a strong statement. It doesn't undo the damage, the screenshot already circulating, the comments already spreading, the stain on a reputation built over 2 decades. That same day, Derek receives an envelope at his office. No return address, no postmark, hand-delivered, slipped under his door sometime during lunch. Inside is a single sheet of paper. The message is typed. Your reforms are destroying morale. Your wife is destroying your department. Step back. This is your only warning. Derek reads it twice. Then he calls a press conference. I want to share something with the public, he says, standing at the podium in his dress uniform. He holds up the letter, letting the cameras capture it. This arrived at my office today. Anonymous, threatening, designed to intimidate. He pauses, letting the words land. I'm not stepping back. I'm showing you exactly what we're dealing with. City Council member Raymond Webb responds on local television that evening. He questions whether Derek can lead objectively given the circumstances. He suggests that the chief has become too personally involved and that perhaps new leadership might better serve the department. He does not mention his donor list, the police union PAC, the law enforcement equipment suppliers, the political action committees with interests in maintaining the status quo. Sergeant Hollister, through his attorney, releases a statement. Sergeant Hollister categorically denies any improper influence over complaint reviews. These accusations are a witch hunt driven by political agendas and media sensationalism. He looks forward to being fully vindicated. The city manager schedules a performance review for Chief Owens. Date, 3 weeks out. At home, the pressure seeps into everything. Brenda and Derek's daughter comes home early from school one day, her eyes red. Someone said something about Dad, she says. She won't say what. She goes to her room and closes the door. Their son stops wearing his Millbrook soccer hoodie outside the house. When Brenda asks why, he just shrugs. I just don't want to, he says. He doesn't have to explain further. She understands. Late one night, 2 a.m., maybe later, Brenda and Derek sit at the kitchen table. The only light in the house comes from the fixture above them. The children are asleep. The neighborhood is silent. Is this worth it? Brenda asks. The question has been building for days. Derek is quiet for a long moment. What message do we send if we stop? What message do we send to our kids if this destroys us? He doesn't have an answer. Neither does she. They go to bed in silence. The question hangs in the air unanswered. 2 months have passed since the parking lot. Brennan is still on paid leave, collecting his salary, waiting. Hollister is still working, still reviewing complaints, still signing off on outcomes. No charges have been filed, no accountability delivered. Brenda lies awake, staring at the ceiling. She thinks about Lorraine Tucker, who filed her complaint 2 years ago and was told it didn't matter. She thinks about Deshaun Mills, detained for 40 minutes without explanation. She thinks about Patricia Sims, questioned in her own car while reading a book. She thinks about her children, carrying weight they didn't ask for. For 2 days, she doesn't leave the house. Then, on Sunday morning, her phone rings. Sunday morning. The sky is gray, threatening rain that won't come. Brenda sits in her car in the driveway, engine off, keys still in her hand. She doesn't want to go inside yet. The house feels heavy. Everything feels heavy. Her phone shows 48 unread messages. She scrolls through them without really reading. Some are supportive, some aren't. Thank you for standing up. You're giving us hope. Your husband shouldn't have married outside his race. You're a hero to my daughter. She wants to be like you. You're destroying good cops to make a point. How do you sleep at night? She deletes them all without reading them fully. Her thumb moves mechanically. Delete, delete, delete. The phone rings. She almost ignores it. Then she sees the name, Lorraine Tucker. She answers, Mrs. Owens? Lorraine's voice is soft, careful, the voice of someone who knows about heavy days. "I'm sorry to bother you on a Sunday. I just wanted you to know something." Brenda closes her eyes. "You're not bothering me." "I filed my complaint 2 years ago. Nothing happened. I stopped talking about it. I stopped thinking anyone would ever care. I told myself it didn't matter, that I should just move on." Lorraine pauses. "But because of you, someone finally asked me about it. That reporter. She called me. She listened. She wrote it down. For the first time in 2 years, someone believed me." "I don't know if I can keep doing this," Brenda says. The words come out before she can stop them. They surprise her. She didn't know she was going to say them until she did. "You don't have to." Lorraine's voice doesn't waver. "But I need you to know, you already did something. Whatever happens next, you already did something. That matters. That matters more than you know." The call ends. Brenda sits in silence. She looks at her house. The porch light is on. Derek must have turned it on, a signal that she should come inside. Her family is waiting. Her daughter appears at the front window, waves, a small, uncertain gesture. Brenda waves back. She didn't start this to be a symbol. She started it because a deputy blocked her path and demanded she explain herself in front of the building where her husband works. That's all. That's the whole truth of it. She was just dropping off lunch. But symbols don't get to choose their meaning. They only choose what happens next. Sometimes the thing that keeps you going isn't strength. It's just the next phone call. The voice of someone who says, "You already did something." Brenda gets out of the car. She walks to the front door. She hugs her daughter, long, tight, without words. She doesn't talk about the case. She doesn't talk about the messages or the blog post or the fear that wakes her at 3 a.m. She makes dinner. She helps with homework. She watches a movie with her son, some superhero thing she doesn't follow. Too many characters, too many explosions. But she laughs when he laughs. Normal things. Ordinary things. The things that exist outside the storm. That night, after the children are asleep, she opens her laptop. She pulls up her notes, the names, the dates, the badge numbers she's been collecting since this began. She starts organizing them, not because anyone asked her to, not because she has a plan, but because she is a nurse, and nurses document everything. Documentation is evidence. Evidence is power. Power is what you use when the world tells you to be quiet. She works until midnight. Then she closes the laptop and goes to bed. In the morning, Denise Crawford will call with news. The receipts are about to get bigger. On Monday, Denise Crawford calls with news. The receipts just got bigger. The news comes Monday afternoon. Denise Crawford's voice is controlled, professional, but Brenda can hear something underneath. Excitement, maybe, or the particular satisfaction of a pattern finally coming clear. "The State Attorney General's office has opened a formal inquiry," Denise says. "Multiple complaints from multiple victims, combined with my reporting on the body camera gaps and the complaint dismissal patterns. They're looking at everything: complaint procedures, body camera policies, supervisory oversight, and, this is the part that matters, financial records." Financial records? Overtime. Proactive patrol assignments. Someone at the AG's office noticed that the numbers don't add up. They're pulling 18 months of records. Within a week, the victims begin to organize. 8 people now: Brenda, Lorraine, Deshawn, Patricia, and 4 others who've come forward since the story went national. They meet at Valerie Simpson's law office on Main Street, sitting around a conference table that's seen better days, drinking coffee from paper cups. They call themselves simply the 8. Attorney Valerie Simpson takes their case pro bono. She's 45, a former federal prosecutor who spent a decade in the Justice Department's Civil Rights Division before returning to Georgia to be closer to family. She doesn't do interviews. She doesn't chase cameras. She prepares cases, meticulously, obsessively, completely. This isn't about one deputy, she tells the group at their first meeting. This is about a system that allowed one deputy to operate this way for years, We're going to document the system, every complaint, every dismissal, every connection. When we're done, no one will be able to say they didn't know. The coalition holds a press conference at the Tribune's office. The conference room is cramped, standing room only. Cameras flash like strobes, casting harsh shadows on the walls. Each victim gives a brief statement. They describe what happened to them. They describe filing complaints. They describe being told their experiences didn't matter. The unified message is clear. We're not asking for revenge. We're asking for accountability. We're asking for a system that works for everyone. Then something unexpected happens. Officer Janet Prescott steps forward. She's 39, a 15-year veteran of the Millbrook Police Department. She's still employed. She's still wearing her badge. She submits a written statement to the Attorney General's office. The contents leak within hours. "I joined this department to serve my community," her statement reads. "What I have witnessed over the past several years is not service. It is protection of those who do not deserve protection. Complaints are buried. Patterns are ignored. Officers who raise concerns are marginalized. I can no longer remain silent." Prescott is placed on administrative leave, pending investigation within 24 hours of her statement. The public reaction is immediate. Outrage. She becomes a symbol, a good officer trapped in a bad system, willing to sacrifice her career for the truth. The City Council announces an emergency session, a public comment period on police oversight. Date set, 3 weeks out. Brenda Owens agrees to testify. "There are people inside who want this to change," she tells Derek that night. "Not just us, people who've been waiting for someone to push. The question is whether they'll push back harder than we can push forward." I guess we're about to find out. But the AG's office isn't just looking at complaints. They're following the money. The forensic accountants find it buried in 18 months of overtime records. Deputy Kyle Brennan logged 340 hours of overtime for proactive patrol assignments in certain zones. Rate, $62 per hour. Total supplemental pay, $21,080. The AG's investigators cross-reference his patrol logs with his stop records. 89% of the people Brennan stopped during those overtime hours were black residents. The stops rarely resulted in citations or arrests. Most produced nothing at all. No tickets, no charges, no warnings, no productive outcome of any kind. What they did produce: overtime paperwork. Signed by Sergeant Wade Hollister. The investigators expand their search. 5 other deputies in Hollister's sphere show the same pattern. Different names, different badge numbers, same system. Combined overtime for proactive patrol, stops across the group, $142,000 over 3 years. The connection becomes clear. Hollister approved overtime. Deputies made stops to justify hours. Complaints were dismissed to protect the system that made it all possible. It isn't just bias, it's fraud. The phrase in the AG's preliminary report is clinical. Systematic abuse of public funds facilitated by supervisory failure to investigate complaints. Clinical. Cold. Devastating. The AG expands the investigation to include financial crimes. Hollister's attorney stops returning calls from reporters. The city manager places Hollister on administrative leave. Finally, 2 months after Brenda Owens was stopped in a parking lot while the system that protected his nephew continued to operate. Brennan's leave is extended. His union representative meets with criminal defense lawyers, not employment lawyers anymore, but the kind who handle felony charges. Brenda receives a copy of the preliminary report through Valerie Simpson. She reads it in her living room, 40 pages of documentation, highlighted passages bleeding yellow through the paper. She knew the stops were wrong. She knew the system protected them. She didn't know they were getting paid extra to do it. The racism wasn't incidental. It was profitable. She sets the report down. Derek is in the kitchen making dinner, his turn tonight, a rotation they've kept since the children were small. The sounds of ordinary life, water running, a pan on the stove, their son's music drifting from upstairs. "They were getting paid," she says. Derek appears in the doorway, dish towel over his shoulder. "What?" "The stops, the harassment, the proactive patrol. They were logging overtime for it. Hollister approved it. It was a system, a business." Derek is quiet for a long moment. 18 years in law enforcement, 14 months as chief, and still this catches him off guard. "Then it's not just misconduct," he says finally. "It's theft. From the city, from the taxpayers, from every person they stopped." She picks up the report again. Page 34. The breakdown of overtime payments, the badge numbers, the approval signatures. For 2 years, Kyle Brennan made extra money by stopping people who looked like her. And for 2 years, Wade Hollister signed the paperwork and buried the complaints. The racism was a feature, not a bug. It was the business model. Brenda thinks about Lorraine Tucker, stopped while walking her dog, about Deshaun Mills, detained for 40 minutes, about Patricia Sims, questioned in her own car, about every person who filed a complaint and was told it didn't matter. It mattered. It always mattered. And now there's proof. In 2 weeks, the grand jury convenes. Brennan and Hollister will answer for more than bad behavior. Mid-December. 8 weeks after a woman was stopped in a parking lot for carrying a lunch bag. The county courthouse is a limestone building from the 1920s, columns out front, marble floors that echo with every footstep. The grand jury room is on the 3rd floor. Wood-paneled walls, fluorescent lights, rows of seats for witnesses, a table for the prosecutor. The air smells of old paper and cleaning solution. Brenda Owens testifies for 30 minutes. She describes what happened in the parking lot, what she observed, what she documented. Her voice is level. Her answers are precise. When the prosecutor asks how she remained so calm during the encounter, she pauses. "I've been a nurse for 18 years, she says. "I've learned that panic doesn't help anyone. Documentation does." The other victims testify over 2 days. Lorraine Tucker describes walking her dog, being stopped, being questioned like a suspect in her own neighborhood. Deshaun Mills describes sitting on a curb while his car was searched, wondering if this was the day something went wrong. Patricia Sims describes being questioned in her own car while reading a book, waiting for her grandson. 4 others tell similar stories. Different details, same pattern. Officer Janet Prescott testifies under subpoena. She describes the internal culture, the pressure not to file complaints against connected officers, the understanding that certain deputies were untouchable. "Was Deputy Brennan one of those deputies?" the prosecutor asks. "Yes." "And Sergeant Hollister's unit, was it understood that complaints reviewed there would be dismissed?" "That was the expectation. Everyone knew." Denise Crawford's documentation is entered into evidence. The FOIA responses, the body camera logs, the internal email, the statistical analysis. The AG presents the forensic accounting findings. 340 hours of overtime, $142,000 across 6 deputies. 89% of stops targeting black residents. Approval signatures matching Wade Hollister on every form. Brennan's defense argues reasonable suspicion based on unfamiliarity with the parking lot's layout. Hollister's counsel describes his overtime approvals as standard administrative discretion exercised in good faith. The grand jury deliberates for 6 hours. The foreperson stands. The room goes silent. Kyle Brennan, indicted on civil rights violations, pattern of discriminatory stops, and theft by deception for overtime fraud. Wade Hollister, indicted on obstruction of justice for complaint suppression, official misconduct, and accessory to theft. Both men are arrested at the courthouse. Bail is set. Cuffs close around wrists. Cameras capture everything. The walk to the holding area, the booking process, the particular posture of men who never expected to be on this side of the system. Brenda sits in the gallery. She doesn't smile. She doesn't speak. She watches. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarm, microphones thrust forward, questions shouted from every direction. Brenda gives one statement. Just one. I was just dropping off lunch. I shouldn't have needed to prove I belonged. No one should. She walks to her car. Derek is waiting. Their children are at home, watching on television, texting updates to friends. Justice isn't always dramatic. Sometimes it's paperwork and patience. Sometimes it's sitting in a room while people finally tell the truth. Brenda opens the car door. Derek reaches for her hand. "It's not over," she says. "No," he agrees. "But it started." 6 months later, Millbrook Police Department implements an independent complaint review board. Civilians, not officers, reviewing complaints against officers. Body camera policy is revised. Tampering is now grounds for immediate termination. Training protocols are updated. Oversight is strengthened. Officer Janet Prescott is reinstated and promoted to training coordinator. She develops a new curriculum on community interaction, required for all officers, mandatory refreshers every year. Chief Derek Owens remains in his position. His reform agenda accelerates. Kyle Brennan is terminated from the department. He awaits trial, having pleaded not guilty. His case is scheduled for spring. His attorney has requested 3 continuances. Wade Hollister resigns. He faces separate civil suits from 7 of the 8. His pension is under review. Brenda Owens returns to work at the hospital. She requests no special attention. Her patients still ask for her by name. Tuesday morning, 1 year later. Brenda pulls into the police station parking lot. Same visitor spot. Same lunch bag in her hand. Same walk to the front door. No one stops her. No one demands ID. No one blocks her path. She drops off Derek's lunch. She waves to the desk sergeant. She leaves. That's it. That's the victory. She stands still in the parking lot for a moment. Not because someone demanded it, because she's exactly where she belongs. The badge doesn't grant immunity. The truth doesn't stay buried. And sometimes justice walks through the front door. If this story resonated, if you've ever felt unseen where you had every right to be, leave a comment, share your moment, and if you want more stories where receipts meet reckoning, subscribe. We're just getting started.